If you have been following my channel for a while, you know that I have a very positive outlook on blockchain technology, or in crypto speak, one could say that I'm bullish on blockchain. Now, having said that, there are many things that are not yet completely sorted out. And especially in crypto gaming, there are things that are weird. There are things that are scammy. There are things that are just not the way they should be. And therefore, I thought I'd make a little video on what I would call the 5 dimensions of insanity in crypto gaming, in order to make clear sort of where I draw the line of what is a positive development and what is a negative development. But before I do that, first of all, hello everybody. My name is Michael Wagner. I teach at the Antoinette Westphal College of Media Arts and Design at Drexel University in Philadelphia. And on this channel, I talk about digital media, game design, and spatial audio. And if any of those things interest you, I invite you to subscribe or join my Discord community. An invite link is in the description below. And with that being said, let's get to the 5 dimensions of insanity. I'd like to start by explaining a little bit what motivated me to make this video, and that is a story that developed over the last couple of weeks. I'm not going to go into specific details, but just in case you are not aware of that, I'm talking about Earth 2. Earth 2 is a metaverse development, or some would call it a metaverse scam, that tries to recreate the entire Earth in a playable way. So you can essentially purchase land on that virtual version of Earth. And the idea is that you can then build all kinds of things and interact with all kinds of things. And whatever the developers come up with, essentially you are able to do. So it's one of those metaverse projects that really try to recreate reality in a virtual space. And I'm going to come back to that a little bit later. Now, what has happened with Earth 2? Well, essentially what happened is that Earth 2 put out a developer blog, and in this developer blog they gave some updates on the development of Earth 2. And while this blog was actually quite interesting, and the demo itself is actually really impressive to some extent, the thing that caught the attention of most people was the enormous amount of marketing language that was in that developer blog. And that's really unusual for a developer blog. Usually a developer blog tries to stay as technical as possible, but this is not the case here. Here really there was a lot of, some people would say, marketing BS, and that was called out by a number of YouTubers, and they said that essentially, well, this is an interesting a trailer and shows off some really interesting technology. It's certainly not as unique and as groundbreaking as the Earth 2 developers or the Earth 2 blog seems to indicate it is. Now, what happened after that is slightly absurd, and that is that the CEO of Earth 2 called out one particular YouTuber and asked him to recreate that particular demo so that he can prove that this is indeed something that everybody can do with a little bit of time. And by the way, one of the things that always kind of surprises me is the quality of those CEO announcements, especially in these blockchain technology company things. This certainly does not look as professional for a CEO as the tech demo looks. But in any case, he challenged the YouTuber Colum Upton to recreate the essentially the demo that they had created, and the YouTuber, here we have Colum Upton, then took on this challenge, which is also interesting. Not everybody would have done that, but I guess it sort of makes this little internet feuds make kind of really good marketing for anybody involved. And he essentially recreated the tech demo in about a week. Now, his version of the tech demo was not as visually impressive as the original Earth 2 tech demo, but from a purely technical perspective, all the things that he was asked to implement were there. So most people who are familiar with the principles of game development are convinced that he was successful in recreating that. However, there is an ongoing debate whether or not this was successful or not, and I invite you to watch all the videos that come out of that because it is hilarious. It's a nice popcorn story. So get yourself a bag of popcorn and watch all those videos. I'm going to post links in the description below. It's really hilarious. Now, why is this interesting for me? Well, as you all know, I teach in game development. Well, not necessarily only in game development, but one of the things that I do really is I manage a department that has a game development program, actually very well ranked game development program, and I need to be on top of all developments. So my job really is to figure out not what the game developers need today, but actually what game developers will need in 5 to 10 years. And therefore, I'm really interested in any technology that comes about. However, whenever a new technology comes out, we need to understand that there is a certain time where things are starting to formalize themselves in certain ways. There is a time where what's called a dominant design has to emerge. And this is the time we are in right now. And there are many things that are currently discussed that are strange. There are many things that are currently discussed that don't fit particularly well. And I felt I needed to make a point in calling out those misconceptions about what crypto games should be and what crypto games could be and what they actually are in opposition to that. I've decided to call this the 5 dimensions of insanity of crypto gaming, really. Why 5? Well, I don't know. It could be 10, it could be 15. It's sort of kind of 5 seemed like a good number, and kind of it brings out the main points that I wanted to bring across. So let's get started with those 5 dimensions of insanity. The first one, not really understanding the complexity of game development. That's something I see in many crypto game developments in particular. We have a lot of people that are entrepreneurs that are coming from areas that are related to finance, that are coming from areas that are related to starting up tech companies, but very few people actually understand how game development works. And in particular, in a development like Earth 2, that is a significant open world development, requires hundreds and hundreds of developers, highly paid developers, working for thousands and thousands of hours, spending hundreds of millions of dollars. So if you're seriously thinking that as a company that hires like 10, 20, 30, 50, 60, even 100 people to work on something like this can be successful, then this is the first level of insanity, really, because that is simply not the case. You need a significant amount of resources in order to get a project of that scale, in order to make a project of that scale successful. It's just not something that you can do with a few people. It's just not something that you can do in open source. It's just not something that you can do in a community. That is really something that requires a substantial amount of effort, with a substantial amount of project management and a substantial amount of highly paid people. And that's just not something that I see in many of those developments. And quite frankly, what surprises me even more is that I don't see a lot of people who even understand that that needs to be the case. The second dimension is not really understanding the difference between a tech demo and a game. Now, the tech demo of Earth 2, as impressive as it is just that. It is a tech demo. And the time and effort that it needs to get from that, what we usually call a vertical slice, to a full game development is substantial. It's just not something where you say, well, okay, they did this little tech demo and it seems to be almost complete. All I really need to do now is put myself into that world and play around with it. This is not the way things work. This is just kind of a very small piece of the big pie that needs to be developed. And on top of that, a lot of people don't really understand that because game development is so complex, there are many, many tools that are at our disposal that allow us to create these demos in a very short amount of time. So as impressive as this tech demo really is, from a technical perspective, there's not much behind it, because most of the things that are presented there do exist in one way or the other. The really important thing now, or the really complicated thing, is to take this tech demo and actually make it playable, and make it playable at the scale that they propose to do. And that is simply something completely different. That is a completely different dimension that is not even closely related to just kind of putting out a tech demo. A tech demo is good if you want to impress people. It's something that you can use for marketing, but it's not really kind of useful for game development as such. The third dimension of insanity is something that I'm probably going to make an extra video at some point, because that's something that has been bothering me for a very, very long time. And that is really not understanding the concept of a metaverse. What is the metaverse really? Is the metaverse something that is just a recreation of reality? No, it is not. If you think about the way the metaverse was originally kind of proposed in Snow Crash, in Stephenson's Snow Crash, it was something that sort of is really a part of reality. It becomes a hyper reality, as Jean Baudrillard would say, and it does not replace reality. Rather, it kind of infiltrates reality and becomes part of it. Now, I should also mention at that point that whenever we talked about the metaverse previously, it was usually in a very dystopian way. So a metaverse was never really a good thing. It was just in the recent months and years that this idea of a metaverse suddenly became something desirable. This was not the case. If you think about Neil Stephenson's novel, or if you think about the work of Jean Baudrillard, the metaverse or the hyperreality is actually a dystopian view of the world, and it's not necessarily something that we should kind of strive towards. But my main point really here is that when we're talking about the metaverse, regardless of whether we look at it from a dystopian or a utopian point of view, it is not meant to be something that replaces reality. It's something that becomes part of reality, that enhances reality, that makes a reality into a hyper-reality. And none of the metaverse projects that I've been seeing so far, really none of them are able to really do that. And I have a certain feeling that if there ever is a metaverse at some point, it will look completely different to what we see currently advertised as metaverse projects. It's just not the way it's going to turn out. Now, the fourth dimension is something that I feel is starting to get a little bit better, and that is what really understanding the consequences of selling digital assets. The thing is that in traditional game development, what you do is you announce a game, and then essentially everybody gets excited, and kind of you see all kinds of trailers and maybe a beta version, and some people play it, and then it essentially turns out to be a good game, or it turns out to be a bad game, or sometimes game developments completely disappear and don't happen at all. Here, things are completely different because you're starting the game development with selling digital assets. And especially in the US legal context, this is actually something, or what you're really doing is you're selling property. And there are completely different consequences to that. Now, if you are proposing a game and then you don't follow through with developing that game, that is just bad business practice. But if you're proposing a metaverse project, you're selling property on that metaverse project, and then you don't follow through in the way you originally proposed to follow through, it is close to financial fraud. So essentially, this is something that gets into criminal territory. And fortunately, we are starting to see the US legal system starting to really follow through with investigating certain developments, in particular in connection with NFT rug pulls. And starting to make people really aware that they can't simply announce stuff and then not follow through, because here we are at the vicinity of turning something into wire fraud. It is a criminal thing to essentially sell a property and then not follow through on your promise. It's just not something that you can do. And people have not yet understood that. They think of a crypto game project as something that is similar to a regular game design project. No, it is not. It is something completely different because the legal system treats it in a completely different way. And that's something that people need to become aware of. And currently they don't. And this leads me to my final one, and that's also something that I'm probably going to make an extra video, because that is something that has been annoying me ever since I heard this term, and that is play to earn. What the hell is play to earn? There is no thing as play to earn. If you have any familiarity with game design or game development, you do know that the definition of a game has a certain voluntary component. A game is something that is played, and you cannot earn while you're playing, because as soon as you earn something through playing, it becomes work. So there's a very, very strict separation between the idea of playing and working. Play to earn is working. That's what it is. As soon as you turn a game into a play to earn game, it is no longer a game, it becomes work, and people treat it like that. And we already see that with developments like Axie Infinity, where there are people just working their time away in getting what little benefit they can get, and turning that into work. So play to earn is a misnomer. If you seriously think that the future of crypto games is play to earn, then I cannot help you. This is so stupid, I can't even start talking about how stupid it is. And I'm probably going to make an extra video about that, because there's so much that has to be unpacked with this term alone. But for now, just please, play to earn is a stupid idea. If you're using play to earn, what you're really doing is you're creating work, or at best you're creating gambling. That's really what it is. And if you're creating gambling, there's a whole different range of problems that you're running into. So play to earn is, for me personally, is really the highest level of insanity that I'm currently seeing. Now, this is everything I wanted to say today. I just wanted to conclude with some comments about the future. I do believe that blockchain technology has a great future. I do believe there will be something like crypto games. I do believe that they will be around and they will probably shape the future of gaming, but they are not going to look the way people think they're looking right now. It's not going to be play to earn. It's not going to be the metaverse. There are going to be dominant designs that are going to emerge that will help us really progress the idea of gaming, and they will utilize the technologies or the possibilities that blockchain technology has in terms of immutable ledger technology. And that's something that I'm very excited about. But just to reiterate, the way things are looking right now, it doesn't look particularly promising. So please, everybody who is in game or in game development, start thinking about what this technology could really add to gaming. This is so interesting, but as long as you allow all these weird people take over this field, it's not going to get anywhere. And I'm really looking forward to the first person who can take that concept and turn that into something that is completely innovative and completely new. And I have to be perfectly honest that I'm starting to see some really interesting projects coming up and bubbling up on the sidelines that look at crypto gaming completely differently. And so I do have a certain feeling that we will see something really, really good in the future. But right now, the number of really good projects that I see is very, very close to zero. And that pains me because this is such an interesting technology. Now, if you enjoyed that video, please don't forget to press the like button. If you have any comments or questions, please use the comment section below or join my Discord community. There's a very interesting group of people there. And with that being said, see you at the next video.